If you're a senior figuring out what's next or helping a parent do the same, you're in the right place. Let me tell you how this all started. I was 77, visiting an old friend and his wife in Thailand. The kind of trip you take just because you can, not because you're looking for anything. But somewhere in that visit, it hit me. I was getting older. Not the way I always pictured it. This was the real thing. Physical changes, cognitive changes, things I had to actually recognize and actually deal with. That's where your next chapter started. I had already spent 37 years as a real estate broker, but this is different. 2 years ago, I started looking a lot closer at my own next chapter. And I realized I didn't have to just get through it. I could stay connected. Maybe use what I know to help other seniors navigate their next chapter too. I'm George Hetzel. This is Your Next Chapter. Here I talk through the real stuff seniors and their families face, emotional as well as physical, from a senior's perspective, staying in place or moving, caregiving, the conversations that don't always come easy. No pitch, no pressure, just honest conversation about what this next chapter actually looks like. New videos approximately every 2 weeks. Subscribe if that's useful to you. Thank you. We've been on quite a journey together. First, we looked at how American family life drifted apart over 80 years, suburb by suburb, generation by generation. Then we sat with Helen, a senior with 2 adult children, and heard about what that actually looks like in real life, her shifting relationship with her son and his family, the creative ways she stayed connected with her grandchildren, and how she found her footing by deepening her relationships with her peers. Today, we hear from the other side, an adult daughter, 3 sisters, and a mother who lived to 96. I'll be honest, this conversation surprised me, not because the story is unusual, because it isn't. Most families face some version of this. Very few talk about it openly. Hello, I'm George Hetzel with Your Next Chapter. I'm a San Diego real estate broker who works with seniors and their families on housing and life transitions. I have delved deeply into what actually supports seniors as they age, from the perspective of being a senior myself. This is part 3 of our series on how seniors and their adult children navigate life together and apart. I sat down with Laura, whose mother lived to 96, and we just talked about the decisions, the frictions, the moments that surprised her, and the ones that didn't. No checklist, no advice, just a real conversation worth hearing. Laura has 2 sisters and a mother who lived a remarkable life. When her mother's health began to decline after a mini stroke, a condition that made 24-hour care necessary, the 3 sisters faced a decision most families eventually face. What do we do now? It started as these things often do, with a rotating roster of caregivers. Every week, someone called out sick. Someone had to find a replacement. Laura was in San Diego, her mother in Santa Barbara, one sister in Manhattan Beach, another in Nevada. It was stressful, and it was expensive, and it wasn't working. So the 3 sisters talked. Then they talked to Mom. And here's what surprised Laura. Our mother has always been strong, independent woman, and she trusted the 3 of us. She felt like we could make a good choice for her. She was very willing to go along with whatever we thought was best. The conversations between the sisters were not frictionless. One sister was upset they were selling their childhood home and accused them of dumping their mother in a facility. She even had a lawyer call demanding to speak with their mother before releasing any paperwork. Laura ended up doing a video call to show her the place was actually beautiful and that they had to sell the house to afford their mother's care. As Laura put it, family weird stuff. Eventually, they did sell their mother's home of 55 years. They found an assisted living facility 5 minutes from Laura. Before I tell you how it went, let me tell you who this woman was. Her name was Betty. She drove until she was 90, decided herself it was time to stop, sold her own car to her mechanic. 20,000 miles on a 20-year-old car. Nobody had to wrestle the keys away. She went to the gym until she was 90. She was a clothing designer, worked with Hollywood actors, and designed for some of the biggest names of her era. She had a dry wit, didn't suffer fools. And she loved art her whole life, which became her lifeline at the facility. She took classes. She offered to teach when the instructor was out. In her final weeks, Laura would sit with her and make conversation. If art came up and Laura couldn't remember an artist, her mother knew exactly who it was and started telling her everything about their work. Still there, right until the end. Now the facility. It wasn't cheap. A beautiful one-bedroom apartment. Great views, good light. Her cat was allowed. Some staff who truly knew her and cared. And there were real problems. Betty had a swallowing condition and needed specific foods prepared a specific way. Food would often be placed on a side table if she was asleep, and no one woke her. When staff came back, they'd say, "Well, I guess she didn't eat," and take the food away. Laura ended up hiring additional private caregivers on top of what the facility provided, and the cost skyrocketed. What she didn't know going in, those private caregivers were not permitted to do anything for her mother on their own. Not feeding her, not helping her to the bathroom, not getting her out of bed or taking her for a walk. For any of it, they had to stop and call for staff. That was a surprise and worth knowing before you sign anything, though this may not be the case in every facility. Then the air conditioning failed during a heat wave, unreported to the families, fans running everywhere, Laura talking to her mother in the final days, trying to hear her last words over the noise. She moved her, talked to hospice, got approval, and transferred her to a 5-person boarding home where if Betty wanted eggs at 3 in the afternoon, someone made her eggs. It was better, but it took everything Laura had to get there. I want to be clear about something. There are many hardworking, dedicated people in senior communities. Cooks, housekeepers, caregivers, administrators who show up every day to provide a genuinely needed service for our aging adults. And for many seniors, these communities offer something invaluable: safety, companionship, and a renewed sense of belonging. Laura's experience was hard and was also real. Both things are true. After her mother first moved into assisted living, Laura discovered the facility held family meetings, residents, families, members, and staff all in the same room. Real conversations about food, activity, care gaps, what was working, what wasn't. Laura started attending. She learned things she wouldn't have known otherwise. Her advice: find out if the facility holds these meetings and attend one before you sign anything. She also learned that depending on where you live, there are programs specifically designed to help families hold facilities accountable. Laura used one ombudsman program run by San Diego County. They came in unannounced, observed, interviewed residents, identified what wasn't being done. It resulted in a new facility director, free through the county, worth knowing about. And here's where I want to leave you, because this story, as hard as parts of it were, has something worth holding on to. Betty lived 5 minutes away. Laura saw her at least once a week. They went to coffee, out to lunch, to art shows. Ordinary afternoons that turned out not to be ordinary at all. Betty did artwork until near the very end, kept her cat, kept her wit. At 96, she knew who everyone was until the last day. Laura said it simply: I'm grateful I had the time with her here. I got to share that time with her. That's not a small thing. That's actually everything. So that's the series. 3 conversations, 3 different perspectives on the same question. What does it actually look like when seniors and their adult children navigate this chapter of life together? No tidy answers, no roadmaps, but real people, real moments, and a few things worth knowing before you need them. Betty lived to 96. She kept her wit, her art, and her cat until the very end. Laura was there. That's the part I keep coming back to. I'm George Hetzel. More conversations are coming. We'll talk soon.